Welcome back to Serial at Midnight. My name is Heath Holland, and this is the big one. My favorite physical media releases of 2023. If you've been following along all year, you know that 2023 was a banner year for physical media. It set multiple records. If you're following Ralph Tribby from the DVD and Blu-ray release report, you know that this year has set so many records for physical media. It's the biggest year ever for physical media. This stuff is coming at us from so many different sources. We've never had access to so much. The market continues to change. Mainstream interest continues to decline. However, Oppenheimer just sold apparently over 100,000 discs of on home media. So I don't know. It's an interesting time. Best Buy is pulling out of the market. In Australia, JB Hi-Fi is pulling out of the market. Meanwhile, the boutique market just continues to rise up. Huge profits month after month. So many of these companies are just growing and growing and growing, and we're reaping the benefits. The downside to all of that is, of course, we don't have infinite time, infinite money, and you can't have everything. So it's an interesting time to be a collector because we are being faced with more than we can have, really, is what it comes down to. And on that note, there's going to be things here that I'm going to show you guys that we've never talked about here before just because there was no time. There was no time. I'm sure I'm forgetting some things because of what a marathon blur of a beautiful year this was for physical media. I'm sure I'm forgetting some things, but I've pulled, I don't know, it's a few dozen things that really, I tried to limit it to things that kind of shifted my body chemistry, that altered my brain, right? The things that really, really crunk my tractor, if you know what I'm saying. So let's just launch into it. I'm going to kick us off with Barbarella, the 4K of Barbarella. So you can get the Blu-ray too. This is the 4K from Arrow Video. Hey, Arrow Video. I love this movie. I cannot believe it has this treatment that it's got with like posters and booklets and lengthy hours and hours of special features. This is truly an incredible release. I'm not going to review most of this stuff because if we've probably already talked about it like we have with Barbarella. We've also talked about Cape Light's new 4K of Bloodsport. You know, Bloodsport continues to be a title that so many people have asked me about over the years. Why no Bloodsport on 4K? You know, why no 4K? Well, here we do have it now. Cape Light is embracing the U.S. market, you know, England as well. They're reaching out outside of Europe and giving us some really, really cool stuff. They have multiple different versions of this available, but it is absolutely spectacular. It's got incredible special features. It is just done so beautifully, so well. Again, we've talked about it already here. So if you haven't seen any of that previous coverage, that's just more incentive for you to dig into the Serial at Midnight's archive, the catalog, dig into the backlog. Don't just rely on what YouTube is serving to you. Dig in, actively check out those new release spotlights because I spent a lot of my time here, probably too much of my time to be honest with you, focusing on the new releases. And I mean, again, huge year for the banner year for new releases. From Kino, Lorber, Soundies, the ultimate collection. This is basically short music videos that played theatrically in, what are the years that they've been called the music videos in the 1940s, but that doesn't begin to describe their cultural importance. So jazz, blues, you know, country, like all kinds of different musical styles represented in these soundies. And this archive of hours and hours of these, you know, I'm such a music guy, right? This was just an incredible collection for me. And the restorations and the love that they were given, absolutely spectacular. Let's switch to some music stuff. I got music things here too, and some books. This is, I love it so much. It's a Del Shannon compendium. This is a CD box set. Del Shannon is the guy that sang Runaway. He has never really been given his due in this, you know, like there's not a whole lot of, like, you can find greatest hits compilations and stuff like that. This is basically everything he ever did. There's obscurities here. You guys know, I want you to go check out, if you're like, what's up with this Del Shannon guy? Go Google or YouTube Del Shannon, The Torture Chamber. And just like, you're welcome for that little gift because it's so weird. It's a B-side, but it's so fun. This is, you know, I don't think we've talked about this at all. This is like, I'm not going to take these out, but this is all the CDs from Del Shannon. So good. I want to talk about film masters. So we saw some companies, like Olive is gone now. Olive did not survive 2023, but there's been a lot of companies that have sprung up. Film Masters is one of them. And I'm not going to belabor the point too much because I have a full interview with the founder of Film Masters, but they're just putting out stuff that I love. You know, I love 50s monster movies. I love mid-century culture. That's like home base for me. Mid-century culture is home base for me. Del Shannon, right? The Soundies, talkies, all that stuff. Just for example, Beast from Haunted Cave, right? They're legitimizing all these monster movies with commentaries that aren't snarky. They're historical commentaries giving us context. This is a January release, but I thought I'd sneak it in here because this just showed up. I was like, let's talk about this. Like, they're doing this multiple installment series on Corman now, on Corman's Hollywood Intruders, the film group story. This has part 3 on it. A documentary by Ballyhoo Motion Pictures. Roger Corman, Remembering Film Group. Like, it's really historical stuff that they're doing, and it has been focused a lot on genre movies, but just they did put out the Scarlet Letter as well, which is great. But like this year, Film Masters was just like, check out what we can do, and it is, I mean, booklets, commentaries, behind the scenes features, documentaries. It's incredible. But another company that I wanted to shout out is Radiance. Radiance did not exist around this time last year. I talked to Fran Simeoni, the founder of Radiance. He had come from Arrow. He wanted to start his own label, and they have put out a few dozen amazing releases. I wanted to boil it down to just one here. So that's the Cosa Nostra set with it's Franco Nero films, and they are just absolutely beautifully done. Again, already talked about this elsewhere on the channel, but Radiance, if you're not paying attention to Radiance, you should, because they're doing amazing stuff with movies that are pretty far off the beaten path, honestly. Criterion, I had to shout out Freaks. This is such a classic. We have all been hoping that this would come along at some point. I don't think I've ever shown this on the channel, so let me hold that up, let you freeze it. It's loaded with stuff that you don't have. It's very cool. This has this year brought the opportunity. Flicker Alley, Laurel and Hardy, year 1. Again, lots of great stuff from Flicker Alley. This shifted the chemistry in my brain. This was such an awakening for me. It's all the 1927 silent shorts from Laurel and Hardy as they were finding their voice, as they were becoming the team that we know them to be now. Randy Skretvedt has done lots of great commentary work here, and it opened the door for me to interview Randy right here on the channel. Amazing release. And if you're put off by silence, give it a shot. I think you're going to be really blown away. This, a late arrival, right? This is, I think this came out like Halloween Day or something like that. This is the Christmas, I just did a video dedicated to this, so I won't belabor this point too much either, but it's the complete Rankin Bass Christmas collection. All the I think 11 of the 18 specials are making a Blu-ray debut or an HD debut. Incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible. And like I said in that video, if you didn't watch it, it took 2 studios to make this happen. It's Universal and Warner Brothers working together, because they're owned by 2 different companies. You know I love my 50s stuff. We talked about mid-century. Invaders from Mars. What an incredible release of Invaders from Mars. This opened the door for me to talk to Jimmy Hunt, which, huge honor for me. If you haven't seen my interview with Jimmy Hunt, he was a child actor in the 50s. I just watched a Glenn Ford Western that Jimmy Hunt was in, and I wish that I had seen it before I talked to him for that interview, because I would have asked him we talked a little bit about Glenn Ford in that interview, but this is just such an amazing restoration, such a beautiful, an absolutely beautiful release. This is a 4K release. You don't have to get the 4K. There's other options, but really, what we're seeing now with movies that have previously been considered, I don't know how I want to say it. Like you see, like if you ever go on Amazon and look at some of the reviews for some of the Blu-rays, like Warner Archive restores Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, and you read the reviews and people are like, movies this bad don't deserve great restorations. I'm like, what are you talking about? Every movie deserves a restoration. Clean it up so we can decide for ourselves. Don't gatekeep what we do and do not get to see in the best quality possible. So the fact that we get Invaders from Mars. Oh, shout out the Robot Monster too. The 3D Film Archive did a restoration for Robot Monster that I don't have here, but there's a video. I did a full review about Robot Monster. Another, not a great movie. That's not the point. The point is the restoration is great, and we get to enjoy it with all those decades removed from the print. 2, a previous installment, maybe it was last year, Vengeance Trails of Arrow's Spaghetti Western box set. I loved it. I hoped we'd get more. Well, this year we got 2 more. We got Blood Money and we got Savage Guns, 8 more Spaghetti Westerns. Beautifully done. I talk all the time, or as often as I can, about how this is such a great time for people to discover these movies, because until now, you didn't see these looking good. They have only survived and existed in like old, like 40-year-old TV dubs, TV versions, probably sourced from 16mm prints that were cropped on the side, or worse, kind of smushed. Or actually, I don't know if that's worse. Which is worse, cropping or smushing? But westerns are typically shot in the 2:3:5 aspect ratio. They've smushed them so you can get all the credits and everything in. That's how I've known these movies my entire life. Since the 1980s, that's how these movies have looked. Probably beyond that. Now, gorgeous restorations, restored soundtracks. What an incredible time. From Australia, The Box of Bert. Just one of the most fun releases. And if you've been paying attention to, like, if you were keyed into this, they initially issued this with the bear rug cover art. That was it. Was it Vanity Fair? I'm trying to remember what that photo spread was for. It was Bert naked on a bear rug, and that was on the cover. And I guess it was recalled or stopped before too many got out. I don't know. So this is a sanitized version, but look, man, Burt Reynolds in one box set. A lot of great movies here. Well worth checking out. I just love the theming of it. It's just fun, and it's got a lot of great special features on it. Really, really cool. I gotta shout out Columbo. I know, like, the sad part about this is that this is an incredible release. Here it is on my releases of the year, my favorites of the year. By the way, I should have, like, this is not a best of the year because it's my favorites. This release is stellar. The point is, Columbo is now in HD that we can enjoy. These are brand new. They're 4K scans, and they look better than anything else on the market ever. I mean, it is gorgeous. And if you love Columbo, then you want this set. What's been discouraging and what's unfortunate is that they, like, we all know, right? Kino Lorber announced a beautiful host of extras. Like, every episode had at least one commentary. There's all sorts of retrospective features. And then, for some reason, Frank Tarzi kind of hinted at it in my third interview with him. They weren't allowed to include them at the third hour. Right before this stuff was supposed to go into production, they had to nix it. They hate it too. We hate it. They hate it. But I think that that's kind of taken the steam out of that release for some people. It's an amazing release. Like, let's not forget, we get to watch Columbo on Blu-ray, which is the important part. That's the most important thing there. That show has never looked that good before. And I'm just enjoying watching Columbo in HD. This book, you guys, Voices from Krypton. It's a retrospective on every iteration of Superman on the big and small screen. So we got the Christopher Reeve movie, George Reeves, Henry Cavill. We got Smallville, Superman Returns. It's an incredible volume of scholarship. You're like, why are there no other Superman? They're on the back. The Kirk Allen serial Superman. There's never been a book like this before. I've really come to love Superman in the last 5 to 10 years. I'm like, oh, Superman. Like, I always loved Batman, the X-Men, whatever. Now Superman, I'm like, Superman is like the ideal. We need Superman. Wonderful release. Let's do another music release. Elvis, Aloha from Hawaii via satellite. This is a brand new. This came out in 2023. It's the 50th anniversary of Aloha from Hawaii. So what does that mean? It means that they've cleaned up the audio, which was never great. They've gone back and cleaned up all the audio and given us a Blu-ray of the performance. And it's shot on video, so it's not a huge upgrade, but you're basically getting like the pure, uncompressed performance. They've got this really cool booklet about Elvis and like where he was at this time in his career. You guys know I'm a huge Elvis fan, and this was the copyright protection release of the year. On the 50th anniversary of a lot of stuff, we get releases like this because in the UK, after 50 years, it slips into the public domain if it's not being monetized. And so that means that every year for the 50th anniversary, they crank this stuff out so that it doesn't go into the public domain. It's like use it or lose it is what it is. This is a couple of recent stuff here, but for really, like, seriously, some of the best stuff of the year. Red Rock West. I said it in my Umbrella unboxing that I just did. Like, this has got to be a release of the year. The extras, the presentation, the movie itself, the most important part. Also, these two Tales of Adventure collections from Imprint. Basically the desert adventure films and now the jungle adventure films. I hope there's more coming. This is a bunch of Republic Pictures stuff, which has not been given a lot of respect over the years. So, I mean, there's copious special features here, really in depth on the history of these films, the history of I'm running out of room with this stuff. The history of the studios and the people involved with these. Let's do another music release. Written in Their Souls. This is the Stax songwriter demos. It is, I think it's 9? Disc 7. It's Stax songwriter demos is what it is. Stax is like Memphis Soul. And these are an incredible look into the creation of some of the best soul music ever made. I mean, there's Isaac Hayes right there in the middle. Really, really, really great stuff. And something I don't think I've talked about here on the channel before. Arrow Video, The Empire, Enter the Video Store, Empire of Screams. I'm so glad that there's like a standard non-limited version of this out now, because this is really such a cool release. And it sold out. Didn't it sell out? I'm trying to remember. I think it sold out before it even streeted. That's my memory, is that they had sold out before the release date because people were so excited about it. Charles Band's Empire Pictures. This is the most respect that these releases have been given. And respect maybe not the right word. Just the nicest presentation with cool extras. And did I put that on? I put that on backwards. Again, full video about it. If I don't have, I can put 5 cards in a video, like they'll pop-up cards. I can put 5 of those in a video. It's probably going to be more than that for referencing the past coverage. Check the video's description, and I'll have a link to a bunch of stuff there too, because it's probably more than 5. This book, Lore and Legends, Dungeons and Dragons, Lore and Legends. This is the sequel to Art and Arcana. This is basically a Dungeons and Dragons history and a coffee table book in one. And look, I think like everybody that watched Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves this year, blown away. We loved it. It's doing for, like I've heard multiple people say, like it's given them that Indiana Jones fix. This is the book you want to get to chase that feeling, because it's a history book, but it's also a visual, like it's a visual guide, a visual celebration of the 5th edition of the world's greatest role-playing game. I got to interview Michael Witwer, brother of Sam Witwer, Darth Maul for the Clone Wars and all that cool stuff. And also the model for what's the game? The Star Wars game, The Force Unleashed, right? And The Force Unleashed 2 as well, right? But Michael Witwer is his brother and a huge Dungeons & Dragons fan, devoted author, and getting to talk to him was such a thrill. I'm going to do one more thing. Let's see. What do I got here? Oh, let's do some big box sets, y'all. I'm trying to, like, I think I got a theme here at the very end. Of course, Bonanza. Not just because I got to talk to Andy Klyde, learning the making of this box set, but because I love mid-century television. I love classic television. I'm late Gen X. We are the rerun generation. We were raised on television, right? Reruns, Nick at Night. This is always on. This is still on. These shows are in my blood. And so having this, and there was a lot of conversation about why is it DVD? Why no Blu-ray? Well, it took 14 years to make these DVDs possible. It took 14 years to complete this series on DVD. And I don't know. It's just like to expect more than that when this almost didn't happen to begin with on DVD seems to be kind of missing the forest for the trees. Then again, the people that say why no Blu-ray, they weren't going to watch it on DVD anyway. That's one of the things I've realized, is that the people that say that, they're not supporting this stuff anyway. I do have to shout out the latest and last Alfred Hitchcock volume from Universal. It's the Alfred Hitchcock Classics Collection. They're not numbered, but it's the 3rd one. If you're following along, which I'm sure you are, this is, trying to do these in some sort of order. This is the 3rd and final volume. They have now Universal has issued every single Hitchcock film in their library on 4K. Huge accomplishment, and one that I'm grateful for. You know what? I got more Universal love, but I'm going to switch to something else really quick, because this is something else. Talking about classic television. The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, the complete series. So this is a late arrival. This kind of just showed up, but it's a December release, I believe. I'm not even sure how to talk about this. They started releasing these season by season, I think in 2022. And I was buying them individually, right? So this is from MPI Video, which is the company that released Dark Shadows. We know Dark Shadows, like I've got a video for that too. Dark Shadows, this is that massive box set. It's like $300 all the time. And that's MPI Video. So as I'm buying these season sets, I think they were putting out 2 seasons every 2 months, which was a huge deal already because The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet has never had like full season releases. There were best of collections. This is again, like these are DVDs, right? But people are like, why no Blu-ray? How about nothing? Because that's what we've had. We've had nothing. We're going to go from nothing to finally we have it on disc. Like, let's be grateful for that instead of just expecting the best quality in the first place. It took so many years to get, like I think Shout Factory put out maybe the 100 best episodes. There's a Christmas collection out there at some point from one of the studios. Basically, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet is one of the longest running sitcoms. It ran from 1952 to 1966. You think about all the social changes there. Rick Nelson. Well, here there's a picture of him like really little. Little Ricky Nelson would go on to be a 50s early rock and roll star. He's in the soundtrack for Pulp Fiction. Isn't Lonesome Town on the soundtrack for Pulp Fiction? Traveling Man. They've got a list of his songs here because the performances are included. Lonesome Town, Hello, Mary Lou, I'm Walking, Teenage Idol, It's Late, Fools Rush In. Classic stuff. Absolute classic. We got to witness like the birth of a rock star. So they were doing 2 seasons every couple of months, and I bought the first 4 seasons. I was like, they're going to go all the way with this stuff. Would they collect all this at the end in a really cool box set? Because if they would, I'm going to want that, not these individual seasons. And so I kind of took a gamble, and it paid off. I guess the message there is like they want us to support the stuff as it's being released, right? But then at the same time, if you wait, you get a better product. Because not only does this have the cool box, it has, first of all, look at this. Beautiful, right? It's gorgeous. Why no Blu-ray? Why no 4K? We got a booklet that didn't, there's no booklet with any other version of this. The individual seasons. I don't think it had a booklet. And get this, 2 exclusive bonus discs just to this collection with a bunch of their DVDs too, with a bunch of special features that aren't on any of the other stuff. So I'm glad I waited. It's an incredible release, and for the first time ever, we now have The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, one of the most, the foundational 50s sitcom. Here, let me give you a foundational 50s sitcom. The booklet gives a stat, or maybe it's on the back of the box too. 14 seasons, 435 episodes, 1952 through 1966. They were also on the radio at the same time. So from the start of their radio show to the end of their TV series, 22 years of their life. You think about, and they're real, like it's Rick Nelson playing Rick Nelson, Ozzie Nelson playing Ozzie. Like they're fictionalizing versions of themselves, but it's still them. It's just an incredible snapshot of a time and a series that was so influential and lasted for such a long time. I'm really grateful that we have a box set. I want to talk about Universal. We just talked about the Hitchcock stuff. Universal has really, like, I started putting all this stuff together, right? I was like, what were some of my favorite releases? And I was like, okay, well, I made a video about these 4K, well, they're not just 4K, these editions, these Ultimate Editions that, came from outer space and Animal House here. I made a video about these. They have the 4K, the Blu-ray, digital. And I was like, these are like, they feel like Arrow releases, or they feel like a boutique release, right? And I was like, that's just really well done. Like Universal's paying attention to what the fans want. And then, Northern Exposure gets a Blu-ray release from Universal. Doesn't this look like a Shout Factory box set? Every season in its own case. The art that has a really cool... Somebody asked me if I was going to review this. Like, I don't know if I'm going to actually review it. I'm talking about it now. It's definitely one of my favorite releases of the year. I love Northern Exposure. The snarky version of this is like, well, it's Twin Peaks, but sanitized. I would say it's Twin Peaks, but with a focus on like the quirky characters without the darkness and without the violence running through it. And I appreciate that. Like, it's a very kind of affirming show. I think there's room for both. We don't have to choose. We get both. Really wonderful series. Here, hold this up since I've never showed this on the channel before. So beautiful box set. That's from Universal. Oh, Kate and Alley. They put out Kate and Alley, which is an obscure. It wasn't obscure at the time. It's become obscure now. Yeah, an 80s, family sitcom kind of style show. This is DVD. But again, like, look at it feels like a boutique release. Guess what? One of my absolute favorite releases of the year, Leave It to Beaver, on Blu-ray. I love the series. Again, I grew up on Leave It to Beaver. It came on, Nick at Night at some point. It came on after school television at some point. Like, I know this show inside and out. I love this show. These Blu-rays, beautiful. By the way, Amazon. This is Amazon strikes, because when I ordered it from Amazon, they shipped it in a bag, not a box. It's the double-edged sword. You get it at a fair price sometimes, but they don't respect it. Also from Universal, The Expanse. So I haven't even watched this yet. I don't know if this is a favorite release, but it's helping to support my narrative here. I've heard really great things about this series. It's based on really popular science fiction novels. I love science fiction. I especially love smart science fiction, and this fits the bill. But again, I'm just showing you, this feels like a Shout Factory release, right? Or Shout Studios is what we're calling them now. Hey, let's change our name. It feels like a boutique release. And then this is the mother of all of it. The father of all of it. Psych, you guys. Psych from Universal. This doesn't feel like a studio release. When so much of the time, I reviewed them. I review like 100 titles a month. I reviewed for Paramount. I review for Warner Brothers. I review for Lionsgate, and for not so much Disney, because Disney doesn't. I think Disney doesn't like the way that I talk about some of this stuff, because I'm always honest. And if you're putting out something that's substandard, well, Disney's done a lot of damage. And they're trying to control that damage right now. But anyway, my point is, I reviewed for a lot of the studios. This is unique. This is Universal listening to the audience and giving the audience what the audience says they want and what they support. I guess it's more than what they say. It's what they actually spend, like what they support with their dollars too. I know that there are going to be people who are like, yeah, but they put out Megan on 4K after they put out the Blu-ray. I guess I don't care about that, because I don't care about Megan, and that didn't affect me. I've always just like, what we buy sends a signal for what we get. Like, what you support sends the message that will give me more of that. So when people bought Megan, it tells Universal, well, let's put out Megan on 4K. Because if you have like Bill Lustig told me, like one or two failures like 4K failures can really hit you hard financially. So they're hedging their bets, right? But I wanted to shout this out because it really feels to me like Universal is, in many ways, the champion studio of 2023. Because all these TV shows, again, looks like a Shout Factory release. Warner Brothers isn't putting out stuff like this. Lionsgate isn't putting out stuff like this. Disney's not putting out stuff like this. It's just Universal. Paramount's put out some cool stuff, but they're not putting out stuff like this. Not like this. We're in the MOD, the manufactured on demand world that we're kind of headed into. It's getting something like this is amazing. So I wanted to shout that out, because I think that Universal is paying attention to us, and they're giving us great box sets. When I get Enter the Dragon on 4K from Warner Brothers and it's dropped hours of special features, how can I put that on a favorites of the year list? Like, I love Enter the Dragon. It's a cool transfer. It's a great upgrade 4K transfer, but you've left off so much of the context for that movie, So it's Universal, man. Universal's really paying attention. So I think that's it. This video could have been 5 hours long. This is what I'm limiting myself to, and maybe there'll be honorable mentions. I don't know, but I would love to know what some of your favorite releases were of the year. I want to thank you for the time that you spent with me here throughout the year. It's nice to be able to talk about movies with you. I know we focus so much on the delivery system. There's a lot of energy and time spent on, is it worth an upgrade? Why no 4K? That kind of a thing. But we do tend, because I speak out, I think one of the reasons is because I speak out about it. We do tend to lock into what's on the disc, because that's what I talk about a lot. It's like, well, we're talking about the delivery system. Let's talk about what's on the disc. Let's talk about why we care about Bonanza. Let's talk about It Came from Outer Space and how it's such a cool mid-century science fiction movie. That's one of the things that we get to do here that I don't see a lot of other channels doing. Really, the pursuits of accumulation seems to be the goal for a lot of channels and a lot of collectors. And I get it, because it triggers that endorphin rush in our brains. But if we're not watching it, if we're not talking about it, it's just buying stuff. And so I appreciate you being here with me to talk about this stuff. We get to talk about it. We get to share recommendations. You do have recommendations for me. You check my recommendations. You check out things that are way off your radar. Maybe some of you guys are going to check out Invaders from Mars for the first time. And when you do, go check out my Jimmy Hunt interview, because it's so cool to know, like a child actor from the 1950s, to hear what by the way, he saw a UFO. That's in the interview too. Jimmy Hunt saw a UFO. It's been a joy. This is me just saying thank you. The end of the year is always a time to express gratitude and to count your blessings. And it's been a challenging year in a lot of ways, but it's also been rewarding in a lot of ways. And I want to thank you guys for being here with me for it. 2024, cool stuff ahead. Will it be bigger than 2023? I think probably, yeah. I think this is just the new normal until it's not anymore, right? So let's just buckle up and we will experience it together. Guys, thank you so much. Take care. I should say, if you do like what I've done over the past year and you want to support CerealAtMidnite on a larger level, there's YouTube memberships for $5 a month. And you can join Patreon for a maximum of $7 a month. And there's exclusive videos. There's an exclusive community behind that. And that'd be great if you could. If you want to and you could, I would really appreciate it. But again, just being here, that's enough. Thank you. Take care. Till next time, I will catch you later.